Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. These programs are designed to be exciting and informative, and we're not going to break that tradition right now. Our guest is Michael Oliveira, and Supervisor, and he is our institutional memory because coming January, there's going to be 4 new supervisors all looking to him for his experience, and he's been here 2 years. And so, Michael, welcome to our program.
Al, thank you very much for having me.
Michael, tell a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with this supervisor business.
Well, that's something I never thought would happen in my lifetime. Coming from a law enforcement background and spending time in the Marine Corps and kind of being on that side of the fence, if you will, I ended up being the resident deputy in the Sheriff's Department up here in Arnold. I did that for about 5-6 years, plus bailiff work. And about 1.5 to 2 years before we decided that I was going to even think about this, the community got together and convinced me that I should run for supervisor. I told them, I don't know if I qualify for that. And they said, yes, you do. So we had a very successful election. We had a good campaign, a very nice, good campaign with Marita. I still praised ourselves on being clean and upfront and honest. And here I am.
Well, you're certainly welcome, not only to our program, but we really admire your work at the Board of Supervisors. It seems like every meeting you get better and better.
Well, so experience is a great teacher.
Yeah.
And you try to get as much as you can.
Yeah, the wisdom is coming through. So it's going to be good that you're there, so the other 4 can have a little bit of an anchor.
And I've got some wisdom to draw on too with Gary Tofanelli. So he brings.
Well, he's coming back. He's coming back. Now, there's 5 areas of concern. The first one is a major one. It's the marijuana issue. And tell us your thoughts on that a little bit. And where is the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, let's start at the beginning. I had to draw back on my experiences when we're dealing with any type of controlled substance in Oakland, California, where I was a police officer. Those were days long, long ago. But we saw an increase in crime, associated crime, within the narcotics industry, the narcotics trade. Of course, marijuana has always been in that picture. Drawing on my experiences and knowing and personally being involved in that associated crime factor, my views on any type of controlled substance, any black market or anything of that sort brings that crime in, and that's a very big concern for me. Human nature, with you have that much money and that much availability, brings in the crime. We've seen some of that in Calaveras County. When we started with the initial concept of having an urgency ordinance, we went through our meetings. I know we had the big meeting at Town Hall, and I voted against the urgency ordinance because I know that we had some serious problems with the ordinance, and we weren't addressing what we thought was going to be the crime. And lo and behold, we didn't expect to have 774 applicants for a commercial grow.
That was amazing.
It was flooring. We figured 250 maybe, something like that, for commercial cultivation. And that we're paying those prices right now, trying to get those applications at least inspected, approved, denied on the basis on the urgency ordinance. And I think we're in a position now that we can really make some headway on that. It's taken a while. I got to commend all the departments in the county, especially Peter Maurer in the planning department.
Yeah, the statistics show, and he's doing a great job in trying to process all these applications.
Well,
he's got quite a few.
It's very involved. People don't realize that how involved that really is. You have interaction from different departments. You have the Sheriff's Department, background investigations. You've got the Planning Department with the zoning laws. You've got the urgency ordinance. We've got County Council involved in that. We've got code compliance. We made the right decision of adding people on, but unfortunately, in those positions, you can't go to the shelf and get a sheriff's deputy or a code compliance officer. If they did that, we'd be a lot better off. We're in the process of adding personnel due to the funds raised through the application fees. Right. But I think we'll be able to put bodies in the seats real soon, properly trained, certified bodies. And that's going to be a big boon for us.
I understand that there's a contract with the Highway Patrol to do, I guess, a standby when the planning department goes to inspect the sites, and then there was a Highway Patrol will go with them.
That's true, Al, and we've seen that, and I'm not talking about all the sites. There's some very good people involved in this business.
Yeah.
Some very honest people, very upfront people. But unfortunately, there's some people that aren't so good and not so honest. We've seen situations where our people have been put in danger, our employees, our code compliance people. And so if we have indications that that might be a volatile site or something, we have to provide some type of protection for those folks. Unfortunately, the Sheriff's Department is so, we don't have enough bodies, if you will.
Right.
We've got them in training. They're coming out bit by bit.
Right.
But we have to get these inspections done and to comply with the ordinance.
Right.
And thank God we were able to get some help with the CHP on the contract. We talked about that in the board. But it's going to make a safe environment for all of our people, even the growers that are being inspected.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I understand that the applicants were charged, the commercial applicants were charged $5,000 as a fee, and but it's looking like we're going to go to the end of this emergency ordinance period of time. It's not clear whether that's going to be extended or not. And there may be a lot of money that's been paid by maybe over 700 people that may not be returned.
Well, there's other factors involved in that also. Not only the application being granted by the county,
right.
The applicants also have to have clearance from State Water Quality Control Board.
True, yeah.
And then they have to get a resale license, things of that sort. Then we have the urgency ordinance coming up for review in February.
Yeah, and it's not known if that's going to be continued or not.
We don't know that yet. Or are we going to have a permanent ordinance in place? We don't know.
Yeah.
But let's throw the other factor in there. I understand there's an initiative move to ban marijuana in Calaveras County.
Yeah. Now, if that passes, that'll supersede the emergency ordinance.
It should.
Yeah.
It should.
Because it's a vote of the people.
Absolutely. And there is some concern on whether or not that's going to be a board decision. The option is it could be a board decision.
Yeah.
Or go to the people. Me, personally, I need to have that go to the people. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, we agree.
I did an analysis of our voting on the last election for Prop 64, Proposition C, and Proposition D. And in my district, it was pretty close. Most of it was not wanting to allow the cultivation, but it was so close that decision has to be made by the people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel that way. Unless I'm convinced otherwise, I know it's going to cost the county some money. But the bottom line is, let's do what the people of the county want to do.
Yeah. Well, it's the taxpayers that will have to foot the bill.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have over 700 farmers, and so if the ban goes in place, most of them, well, the ban's against commercial growing, so all those 700 farmers have to get out of business and get out of the county.
I believe that has to come as a result of the vote.
No, if it passes.
If it passes.
Yeah.
And I'd have to check with county council because that's really a gray area. To the layman, yeah, that should be it. If you ban marijuana, the cultivation, the transportation, and manufacturing.
Right.
The medical marijuana issues. Separate issue.
Yeah.
Separate issue. And now we have Proposition 64, the recreational use.
Right.
So there's
how does that weave in?
We don't really know yet. Ironically, I was down at CSAC, the annual convention. That's where all the counties are represented. And CSAC is an organization, California State Association of Counties.
Right.
And this was actually the topic of discussion. And ironically, when Prop 64, I attended several workshops on Prop 64 and marijuana issues, and everybody's kind of looking to Calaveras to see what we do. They're starting to take a look at some of their ordinances, trying to weave that in. But right now, it's just a big question mark, Al.
I don't think they want to follow us.
Nobody's written the handbook on it. There's no rules, but from this point on, and maybe we should have been a little bit careful in the past, but we need to really pay attention to what we put in law.
On day one, I think, from my understanding, some of these marijuana growers are not very responsible people, and they've been causing problems for their neighbors in a number of ways, including odor, driving too fast on the roads, and also, I don't know if it's if the legal growers are involved, but there's illegal growers in the forest that have been using chemicals, then harming the water table.
That's correct.
And so it's, there's a dangerous thing happening there. And so at that time, it seemed like there were three choices. One is to resort to common law, which is laws of trespass and regular ordinances, where you can't hurt your neighbor. Mm-hmm. The other one is to ban commercial marijuana. And the reason for not banning medical marijuana is because of a previous state constitutional amendment.
That's correct.
That allowed that. So and there's not very many people that want to ban medical marijuana anyway.
No, and I share that position too. Yeah. Medical marijuana has a purpose, and if it's prescribed by a qualified certified physician for a qualified certified ailment, I have no problem with that.
Right.
What I have a problem with is the fraudulent practices and it happens a lot. It's still going on, where you can get a doctor's recommendation for $150 from anybody that wants to do it online or whatever.
I believe that.
That's been abused.
Yeah.
That's been abused.
Well, not only that, the plot even gets thicker. Apparently, the federal government has taken out a patent on medical marijuana. Now, the federal government is saying we're against marijuana,
and they took out a patent. It's still a prohibited drug.
If the news media just covered that, I think we'd start to come to the truth of this whole thing. But anyway, so the third alternative at the beginning was to do some sort of regulation.
Right.
So we had, first thing is not to do any more regulation, but enforce the laws we have now, basically trespass. Mm-hmm. The second one was to ban, mm-hmm. and the third one is to regulate to some degree. Now, if I remember right, I think Rita Calloway and Barton Stevenow and one or two other people tried to gathered all the information, the complaints about marijuana, mm-hmm. and then try to put an ordinance together that would solve the problem and allow them to become legitimate.
That was Proposition D on the ballot on November 8th.
And they collaborated with the Marijuana Association, mm-hmm. or I'm not sure if they call it an association or something else, but anyway.
Alliance.
Yeah, the Alliance, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put that together. It seemed at that time that it was pretty complicated. And there perhaps, if the regulation was maybe not so complicated, and maybe more simple, and relied more on common law, it might have passed. But that's so complicated. They had to take money in. They had to fund a thing.
And that was a huge campaign.
Oh yeah.
I mean, huge campaign. I understand that they did a great job. I'll be honest with you. But I think the people that voted in this county had the opportunity to educate themselves.
Right.
But our problem was it was a partial education. And as the campaign progressed, more and more people became educated, and that resulted in the defeat of Proposition D. Proposition D was an ordinance that was watered down, if you will, on the urgency ordinance. One of the big issues were the background checks on folks on premises.
Yeah.
The owners were getting background checked.
But not the workers.
To happen.
But not the workers.
Right. You have the workers are the folks. The illegitimate one.
Right.
They're the ones doing the crimes, not the good ones.
Yeah.
Not the folks that want to be in compliance, not the folks that want to pay taxes. And that's one of our big problems. That's just one of many. To be quite honest with you, at this point, until I can see that we have a working ordinance, I'm still against the
Yeah.
marijuana issue.
Yeah, no, you're following a principle that you believe is truthful and sound.
That's true.
And,
That's
and
true.
whether it actually is or not, of course, that'll be determined.
We'll have a chance to find out.
We tried, our Taxpayer Association couldn't take a position on the marijuana because our board is kind of split. Some libertarians, some real conservatives, and so if we don't have, if we're not together, we don't take a position on whatever it is. And there's a few items like that are controversial.
Well, sure. I mean,
that's okay.
That's part of governing. That's part of life.
So, but on our Taxpayer Association, Taxpayer Alert, this program you're on, the board didn't want us to shrink away from education, just to balance, make sure you balance it. So we got Barton Steveno, and then also had Vicky Renicky.
Yeah.
And they balanced each other out, and they gave the pros and cons, and I think we did a good job.
Well, that's the education process.
Yeah.
That's just it. Unfortunately, as human nature goes, when it comes to deciding things by ballot, how many people actually do the time and research those issues?
Oh.
We hope a lot of people do.
There's so much I don't do.
I'm guilty of that too. But I've changed since I got elected. I've been educated. I do a lot of research. I try to keep a low key, and I try to keep my personal views and opinions out of that decision. I have to.
Well, that's only fair to the people that elect you. They don't want you to make mistakes.
Well, sure.
And best way to make mistakes is not to
listen to them.
Yeah, not to listen. Failure to listen.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Where is the light at the end of the tunnel?
I'll let you know after the election.
But would we even know then?
I don't think we will.
No, it's going to be.
I don't think we will. There's so many issues.
Right.
If we go to a total ban, how are we going to finance our law enforcement?
Yeah.
As you well know, we were down when we went into this program.
Yeah.
Last 10 years, 12 years, we've been suffering through the economy. We've been cutting, not just the Sheriff's Department, in all departments.
Right.
Those bargaining units have elected to not take raises and still continue the job.
30%, I think a 30% reduction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we need those people. We owe those people that took those sacrifices back then to make sure we survived.
Yeah.
We need to get them back to where they should be.
Yeah.
And that's across the board.
There's another reason, it's more ideological. The purpose of government is to protect the rights of life, liberty, and property. And that's all levels of government. And then, of course, government is doing other things besides that. And some things it's doing is actually in opposition to that. But if that's the purpose of government, then the most important public official is the sheriff.
He is.
That's a thin blue line.
That's a very thin blue line.
We're not safe in our homes without law enforcement.
Absolutely, Al. And when I decided to become a supervisor, my campaign platform was, we have to make Calaveras County safe before we can do anything else.
Right.
We owe it to our people. We owe it to our employees. We owe it to society.
Right.
We have so many visiting population into our county. We want to make sure they feel safe and secure too. And that's a constant battle. Everybody used to say, well, Calaveras is kind of a rural county. We've stepped up to the big boy plate when it comes to crime. Look at what we had recently. And I'm not just talking about that crime associated with the marijuana issues. We've had an increase in serious crime. And we have to be ready to combat that.
Now, is that coming up from Stockton and from the Valley?
We're seeing a lot of that coming from the Valley area, from Los Angeles, from the Bay Area. We're seeing it come from Sacramento, seeing it come from Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico. We see a lot more folks that aren't residents of California, but they elected to live here.
Right.
And we see our transient population coming in. And with that, they're people, and it just brings associated crime.
All right. Well, it looks like we're not to the end of the tunnel, so we don't really see the light.
Well,
yet.
I hope that light's not a train.
Okay, our next item is tree mortality.
Tree mortality.
And that is a major issue in our county.
It is. And I'm actually the county representative to the governor's task force on tree mortality.
Okay.
I also sit on the local tree mortality board. And we're making progress in our public lands and our utilities and things of that sort to address the bark beetle problem.
Right.
Just recently, as a matter of fact, as of Monday, we had the meeting. CAL FIRE had produced a grant program, and SRA, which is your rural tax, the fire tax, they produced some funding. They put the grant program out. Applications were submitted. There was about 129 applications submitted for a total of $29 million. There was only $16 million available.
Oh, wow.
I'm happy to say that Calaveras County, there was 5 entities in Calaveras County. We got a total of $866,722.40 worth of grants issued.
Wow.
And that worked out very well. Utica Water and Power got 2 grants. CHIPS program got a $200,000 grant. The limit was $200,000. For Blue Lake Springs and Arnold area, they've been devastated with the tree problems.
Right.
And these are going to help our private lot owners. That's our big kick right now.
Right.
We can't get federal funding or any funding for for property owners to take care of the tree problem. This is devastating. I've talked to constituents that had quotes anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000 to remove trees. And that's a big hit.
How long do you think it'll be before that is no longer a problem?
This is going to be an ongoing problem for 5 years to 10 years.
Okay.
There's projections out there right now saying we're going to lose 70 to 80% of our forests. I hope that's incorrect, but we're seeing that right now. And it's not just Calaveras County.
Right.
All the way Northern California, down in Madera area, Fresno area, coming up north. We're seeing that. Amador County's starting to see it now. El Dorado County's starting to see it now. This problem's going to be with us. Until we can get back to where we need to be drought-wise, we're going to be dealing with this problem for a long, long time.
I wonder, wouldn't it be great if somebody would invent a bug or an insecticide to just wipe out the bark beetles and that'll be the end of it? Or spray it with the flit or something?
We've looked into those. Seriously, I'm talking with a company right now that is looking for a way to nurture and provide nutrients to the tree so it'll build up the defense of the tree to fight off the bark beetle.
More sap.
More sap. Make the tree healthier.
Yeah.
Once again, the information provided, we need to work and see if that actually works.
Yeah.
It is such a major problem with no solution in sight.
Okay, so we don't have light at the end of that tunnel yet.
No, not even the train.
We know it's a long tunnel.
Yeah, no light on that one.
Okay, Board of Supervisors, some of the issues that you see that you're concerned with.
We have a whole new board.
Right, except for you.
Except me. I want to say that my 2 years on the prior board was probably the most educational experience I've ever had. All the board members, and there, as you well know, there was a lot of diversity when it came to decision time.
Oh yeah.
But we worked good.
And problems, really major problems.
Well, a new board back then.
The fire.
We had the Butte fire. 2 months into our actually it was September.
Yeah.
And then we had our budget. We had our general plan.
Right.
We had our sheriff die in office.
Right.
Now we have tree mortality, and we're dealing with all those disasters.
Right.
You know, we're like juggling everything.
Yeah.
I think we're making some headway.
Yeah.
But it's not a quick process.
I think so too.
You know,
And
I think we're doing good.
And I think that even the outgoing supervisors did a lot of work in finding solutions.
Absolutely, and I must say that with Steve Kearney and with Cliff Edson, Debbie Ponte, and Chris Wright, they were a hard-working board. Yeah. Steve and Cliff really worked real hard. A lot of behind the work scene. Debbie did a lot of behind the work scene. A lot of work behind the scenes, rather.
Debbie had a lot of administrative experience.
She did.
Yeah.
And Debbie's a smart person.
Yeah.
Debbie's a smart person.
She was a good chair.
Well, they're all smart.
Yeah.
But Debbie was a silent, get-it-done type.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. In fact, it was
yeah,
kind of hard saying bye to her when after the last meeting. But we have one more meeting.
Yeah. Well, the incoming supervisor is very knowledgeable, and he's also has a lot of managerial experience, and that's Dennis Mills. So
Dennis Mills, right.
He's done pretty good in the water district as a director, so we'll see.
Has.
Yeah.
He has. I'm really looking forward to working with Dennis and the new board,
right.
with Jack, Jack Garamendi, and with Mr. Tofinelli, Gary, and also with Clyde Clapp, because I really didn't know Clyde until I met him at the meeting here last Tuesday.
He just got his email.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Are they going to give him a key to the back door?
Well, we're trying to get him on his program.
Okay, good.
Now, the general plan, we're down to 3 minutes.
Okay.
What are some of the highlights that you see in the general plan?
In a nutshell.
Yes.
The general plan, through our planning commission and through the board of supervisors, wanted to make the general plan happen.
Right.
And to do that, we couldn't make it complex.
Right.
We had to make it so, number one, it would be easy to incorporate, but also make it flexible. Now, simple, and keeping property rights in mind too.
Yeah, I know that.
I mean, that's very important on the general plan.
We appreciate that.
There's two sides of that fence.
Yeah.
I suspect our general plan has gone to the EIR process.
Right.
We've probably got another 4 months, hopefully, to get that back, and then it'll be finally approved by the board, the new board. And I suspect that there'll be some inquiries on some of those issues, and we'll be having to hash those out. But the good thing is we've gotten there. We got to the draft and the EIR. I
understand there's a lawsuit being generated by the anti-growth elements in the county. Are you familiar with that?
I haven't been officially notified of that lawsuit. I know that Amador County General Plan has been it's in litigation. They've filed an action on it. I haven't seen the official paperwork on Calaveras yet.
Okay, that remains to be seen.
And I think we're waiting to see if it's finally adopted.
Yeah.
I think that's a kicker.
They got to do that before they can sue.
Yeah.
Okay, last time was crime and enforcement.
Crime and enforcement. Well, everybody knows where I stand on enforcement and on crime.
Right.
I am supportive of law enforcement all the way, but I'm also supportive of freedom and rights.
Right.
If we're going to do law enforcement, we got to do it by the book, and we got to make sure it's good for everybody. One of the things that I learned being on the streets in Oakland, being in investigative positions, specialized positions, and here in the county, being a deputy sheriff, is the greatest place in the world to be a cop. If you compare it to Oakland, up here, you have time to do good police work. You have time to get out there and talk and meet the people, talk with them, not at them.
Wow, that's
so
good.
I'm pretty proud of that. In fact, I know we're short of time. When I got elected, I had to resign from the sheriff's department, so I wanted to be a reserve and remain a reserve.
Right.
I fought with county council, but she wouldn't let me.
Oh, darn. We organized a tour of the new jail, and we were really impressed with how well it's run. Eddie Ballard, your commander there, is just great.
We have the most high-tech jail and the high-tech sheriff's department and court system in the state now.
Well, no wonder they looked to Calaveras County for leadership.
I'll tell you, it worked, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I didn't have a lot to do with it as a supervisor, but they got their ducks in a row on that one.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Al, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching.